Okay, I want you to think about the absolute happiest day you've had recently. Really take a second, close your eyes if you need to, and picture it in your mind. What was going on? Was it at a crowded party, a bustling shopping mall, maybe some really loud, high energy get together? Now, for a lot of people, the answer is a resounding yes. They absolutely thrive in that bustling, vibrant energy, just being surrounded by a sea of faces. But for others, happiness looks completely different. Maybe your perfect day ends with a quiet evening, a warm cup of coffee, your favorite book, just sinking into a super comfortable couch in a peaceful room where literally nobody expects anything from you. Sound familiar? Well, if that peaceful evening sounds like absolute heaven to you, I really want to assure you right now, your preference is completely valid. And actually, there is a ton of fascinating science to back you up. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are exploring the psychology of the homebody, finding joy in solitude. Modern society is always celebrating the outgoing, right? The hypersocial, the people who are just constantly on the move. But today, we're flipping the script. We are going to unpack the fascinating psychology of the homebody, and we'll explore why staying in isn't just deeply enjoyable, it's actually incredibly healthy for you. Okay, let's dive right into this. Section 1. The homebody misconception, or myth versus reality. So, modern culture constantly pushes this idea that happiness equals constant activity. Travel more, go out every weekend, stay busy, busy, busy. And because of this, society frequently totally misunderstands people who just love to stay in their own space. When folks hear that someone prefers a night in, they tend to jump to some pretty common assumptions. They figure a homebody is just shy, or maybe socially awkward, unsuccessful, or even afraid of the outside world. But psychology paints a totally different picture. And it is so crucial to emphasize this. So many people who enjoy staying home are perfectly capable of socializing. They can go to parties, speak confidently, build massive careers, and maintain deep, meaningful relationships. The difference isn't about their social ability at all. Actually, scratch that. It has literally nothing to do with ability. It's all about where a person goes to recharge their energy. This quote really hits the nail on the head. Home isn't a prison, it's a sanctuary. It's not about hiding from the world, it is about having a dedicated, safe space to recover from it. Which brings us to Section 2, the psychology of sanctuary. And what's really interesting about this next part is looking at why the brain actually needs home. To really get this, we have to look at the literal hardwiring of our minds. Human beings naturally, instinctively, seek out environments that feel predictable and safe. And that introduces this great concept, psychological comfort. By definition, this is a relaxed mental state in familiar environments where the brain literally stops scanning for risks. Think about it. When you walk into a brand new, unfamiliar place, your brain goes on high alert. Even if there's no actual danger, your mind is working overtime just to process all those new sights and sounds. But your house? Your brain knows the sounds of your house. It knows the smells, the routines, the layout. Because everything feels so familiar, your mind can finally just drop its guard and effortlessly recover from all that unpredictable stress of the outside world. And this perfectly aligns with psychologist Carl Jung's century-old concept of introverts versus extroverts. The core difference? Introverts gain energy from solitude, while extroverts gain energy from social interaction. Now listen closely, because this absolutely does not mean introverts dislike people. Not at all. It just means socializing consumes a lot more mental energy for them. It drains their internal battery a lot faster. So they need that sanctuary of home to act as their perfect recovery charger to get back to 100%. Moving right along to Section 3, solitude versus loneliness and the power of choice. So a lot of people are terrified of being alone, right? Yet homebodies actively seek it out. Guiding you through this psychological distinction is super important because it really validates those choices. Look at it this way. Loneliness is that painful feeling of lacking meaningful connection. Solitude, on the other hand, is the completely enjoyable experience of being alone by choice. It's a huge difference. People who actively choose and enjoy solitude are actually developing a remarkably powerful psychological skill, deep self-awareness. Without constant external distractions pulling at them, they become entirely comfortable with their own thoughts. They spend more time reflecting, learning, and truly understanding who they are. And because of that comfort level, homebodies frequently cultivate an incredibly rich inner world. I'm talking about filling their time with reading and learning, getting lost in documentaries, writing, creating art, playing music, or honestly, just thinking. Now, to an outsider who relies on constant external stimulation, sitting in a room alone might look, well, boring. But internally, These individuals are profoundly stimulated and deeply engaged. Their entertainment comes just as much from their own minds as it does from the outside world, and that creates a really vibrant landscape of thought and imagination. All right, let's move on to section 4, and this is where it gets really exciting. The creative connection, solitude, intelligence, and deep work. You might not know this, but there are actually some incredible cognitive benefits, real superpowers, associated with staying home. A major one is the capacity for deep work. This is a state of concentration requiring uninterrupted focus, where the brain operates at its absolute highest level. True creativity often demands this kind of intense focus. It's why writers, artists, researchers, musicians, and inventors naturally seek out the quiet, controlled environment of home to hit this high-level mental state. You simply cannot reach that elite level of brain operation when you're constantly dealing with outside interruptions. And this connects directly to solitary intellectual activities. Research shows this fascinating pattern where highly intelligent people often find massive fulfillment in reading, research, learning, creating, and problem solving. Again, it's not that they hate socializing. It's just that their brains remain highly stimulated doing these things alone. They possess this inherent curiosity that requires sustained focus to satisfy. That means they can spend hours, literally hours, completely engrossed in a complex problem or a brand new subject. They thrive without constantly needing outside entertainment to feel fulfilled or happy. Now, let's take a slight pause as we arrive at section 5, healthy versus unhealthy isolation, and knowing the difference. We do need to slow down for just a second here and look at the caveat, because balance obviously matters, and staying home can sometimes cross a psychological line. Healthy solitude is a choice that brings comfort and recovery. Unhealthy isolation, on the other hand, feels like a trap. It's driven by fear, overwhelming anxiety, or depression. There is a massive fundamental difference between a healthy desire to recover in your sanctuary and actively avoiding life because the outside world just feels way too overwhelming for you. So if you're ever wondering where you fall on that spectrum, I want you to use this simple litmus test. Ask yourself right now, am I staying home because I genuinely enjoy it or because I'm afraid of something outside? Being entirely honest with yourself about this one simple question is absolutely the best way to ensure that your solitude remains a beneficial, positive force in your life. All right, let's move to our final section. Section 6, the secret strength. We're talking about self-sufficiency and authentic joy. Listen, being a homebody is definitely not a weakness. It actually reveals a very rare type of strength. At a deeper psychological level, home represents safety and identity, comfort and control, belonging, and emotional security. Out in the world, social environments come with heavy, heavy expectations. You're always thinking about how to look, what to say, wondering what people think of you. Staying home removes all of that performative pressure. It gives you complete control over the lighting, the noise level, the temperature. It allows you to totally drop the mask and return to your most authentic self. In a world that is constantly demanding your attention and making noise, having the self-sufficiency to just be content in your own space, without needing a crowd, that is a surprisingly rare psychological power. Which leads us to this incredibly beautiful core takeaway. Peace does not always come from excitement. Sometimes it comes from stillness. Happiness is intensely personal, you guys. It is not about living up to society's expectation of constant motion and endless events. For a lot of people, true peace is found simply sitting in your favorite chair, in your favorite room, with absolutely nobody asking anything from you. Finding authentic joy in stillness is a profound and frankly a really beautiful psychological trait. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final question to chew on. Do you love staying at home, or do you genuinely prefer being out and about? Remember, there is absolutely no wrong answer here. The healthiest lifestyle is simply the one that aligns with your own natural personality. Let us know how your brain recharges and keep embracing whatever environment makes you feel most alive. Thank you so much for joining me to explore the source material today, and we'll see you next time.